Soul Engineer back again with another episode of this podcast. Welcome if you've been following along, and if you're new here, find yourself a nice corner and enjoy Masimba and I going through some engineered thoughts.
Away, how's it going, guys? It's yet another episode, and I'm happy to.
Without wasting any time, what are we talking about today?
Before anything, actually, so at this point in time, the first episode was out, and I just want to appreciate everybody who took the time to actually, go and watch and go through like a lot of, because it was like a 2 hour plus
2-hour
It
episode.
was probably not easy to go through. So
Very true.
You're absolute legend.
Yeah. That video actually ranked third out of all the videos I've uploaded on my channel. So,
Hey.
Many views, but it's a good start. And we are trying to work on. Yeah, we are trying to work on condensing our time to some shorter podcasts. We are still making those clips. They will be coming out more regularly. I'm to blame for that. I've been traveling lately, and I just lost track of the whole clip thing, and I just got tired.
Yeah, it is life.
It's life. So I think soon and very soon we'll be uploading them. Where are we uploading them, by the way? Facebook, Instagram, right?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and I don't know if you want to upload them.
Yeah, I think we can also upload them on YouTube, maybe. That's more work for me.
They're not like 1 minute type of thing.
Yeah.
Like subsections of what we're talking about, so that there's a bit of
Yeah, so you at least don't go through the whole thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much our idea.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's jump into today.
Yeah. So today I wanted us to discuss about Hong Kong, because there's
Hong Kong.
That it's like municipality underneath the China, and there are certain issues with policies when it comes to Beijing. So I thought it would be like low-key interesting to just discuss that and to put you guys up to date with what's been happening that side. So to give you guys a bit of context about Hong Kong, Hong Kong is a special administrative region of the People's Republic.
Is Hong Kong under the Chinese government or it's not?
It's okay. We'll get to that. Like it's slightly complex. So it's kind of like what we can say the gaps and surrounding areas. That's the equivalent of Hong Kong to China, but then it's an island. You get.
Okay.
So it's a metropolitan area, and it's located on the eastern Pearl River Delta of the South China Sea. So, as I said, essentially, it's an island, or can I say a group of islands, because it's kind of split into three. You probably know it from like movie scenes and anime scenes, like Ghost in the Shell, Rush Hour 2, Bloodsport, and the Dragon by the Legend. So if you search for Hong Kong images on Google, like you probably be like, oh, places look familiar. So a lot of filming has been done there for a lot of legendary television. So historically, Westerners
what's this movie? Now You See Me. Now You See Me 2 was shot in Hong Kong, part of it.
Yeah. Even I think the final level to Call of Duty here I go geeking out, busy talking about Call of Duty in Hong Kong.
Call of really? I didn't know.
Yeah, like the final
I don't
level.
play COD. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
like
cool.
yeah, they derived it from a certain street in Hong Kong. But anyways, yeah, historically,
Mm.
like Westerners from like Spain and Portugal referred to it
Mm.
as the island of thieves. So the reason was because like it was infested, seriously infested with pirates, like one piece type of vibes you
Incredible.
get. Grand Line, One Piece, you know that reference. Yeah, so it was infested with pirates because, of course, like it's what can I say, geographically convenient place pirates to kind of hang out and trade.
Mm.
So,
Hold on. Pause the recording 2 minutes.
so yeah, it was like a geographically convenient place to for pirates to like hang out to do trade and also to do actual pirating, like hijacking ships and stuff. You know, because it was quite
Actual
a
pirating.
yeah, isn't it? That's what pirating is, hijacking ships and stuff.
I never that way.
Yeah, so the since isn't it? It was a route which was used by a lot of ships for trade from the east to the west. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, it was a convenient place for pirates to maximize
Mm.
pirating, like I don't know, yeah, whatever you can call it. So yeah, that's where it was like maybe
Mm-hmm.
the 1400s. And then it became a colony of the British Empire after the last imperial Chinese dynasty gave it up at the end of the First Opium War
Yeah.
in 1842. You can
Yeah.
Google that and figure out what one.
Dude,
But just know it was
are
Mars.
you okay?
So yeah, and then it expanded even through the Second Opium War. Yes, there were two Opium Wars,
Yeah,
and
opium
then
wars.
yeah.
What is opium, dog? What is opium?
Oh, opium is a drug. It's a drug that yeah it originated of course in England, and then the English government decided they decided, you know what, we can use this to import tea at very low prices, and we don't have to pay so much for tea because the tea leaves essentially were imported from China, and they were
Oh
quite
yeah,
expensive
yeah.
in the day. So they were like, how can we, reduce the cost and then get them addicted to opium? So they traded opium for tea, and it was a whole disaster, man. It was mad.
So the English government sold drugs.
Bruh, they were out here. They were plugging.
They were plugging, dog.
They were plugging. But then I digress. So even through the Second Opium War,
Yeah.
the island expanded into the Kowloon Peninsula in
Yeah.
1860, and then it and then it was further extended when Britain obtained a 99-year lease after the Second Opium War in of a region called the New Territories in 1898. So that means essentially Hong Kong consists of the main island and then the
Yeah.
Kowloon Peninsula and then the New Territories. So that's how I
Mhm.
was saying it's like a combination of three different islands. That's Hong Kong.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
like it's like an independent administrative region.
it it was for it was for like 50 years after 1898. So it's kind of goes in together with like what I'm going to say next. So after
Okay.
after that 99 lease, which means 99 years after 1898, which is in 1997, then
Yeah.
Hong Kong was transferred back to China because indeed
Okay.
they made a treaty that it would be under the British colony for 99 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in
And yes, yeah.
1997, it was transferred into Chinese authority. So yeah, so this is what happened. Yeah. So when the UK handed back Hong Kong to China, they agreed that Hong Kong would operate under a one country, two systems principle for the next 50 years. So that means from 1997 to 2047. Is it quick maths? Yeah, up to 2047. So yeah, that was the agreement. So that means even though it was part of the Chinese government, mainly it would operate under the democratic type of principles, which were derived from the United Kingdom. And it would, when it comes to China, it would only follow the policies when it comes to defense and trade. So everything else was UK principled, and then only defense and trade. In that case, those are the only policies which affected Hong Kong. Let's just say they were the only communist policies which affected Hong Kong in that way.
Oh yeah.
So Hong Kong. So for the next 50 years, it was gonna be like that because Hong Kong had kind of gotten used to the democratic / capitalist system in those 90 years. And then that means that if there was just a direct shift, it kind of wouldn't fit in well with the communist policies of the Republic of China. So it was kind of supposed to be like a morphing stage, you get. So that means Hong Kong, within those 50 years, they were allowed to act autonomously in all aspects, except for what I said, foreign affairs and defense. Those are the only policies which they inherited from China, let's say that. And then, China was initially cool with that. They were like, yeah, because at the time, Hong Kong was like the biggest financial earner in Asia, you get. It was the biggest financial earning metropolitan area in Asia. So they're like, since it's bringing in the money, why trifle over certain policies and stuff like that, since they're making us money? So it's fine. We're okay with the whole 50-year type of agreement.
Yeah.
So since it benefited China, like I said, they were fine with it. However, as China grew economically, over the years, then Hong Kong began to fall off in that aspect. And currently, they're only the fourth wealthiest city in China alone. So they've kind of fallen off. So China is no longer getting those benefits you get. They're no longer getting the financial benefits. So
because they have other other sources of income.
Yeah, they have other sources of income, so they kind of like don't have to go with that 50-year policy anymore because of financial reasons. So Hong Kong, as we know, since it's like it is kind of a democratic metropolitan area in itself because of the whole one country, two systems policy.
Yeah.
That means they have a freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and also the right to protest. You get. Which is kind of not the case in China. Yeah, because in China you can't speak bad about the government, the ruling party, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So the first issue that caused like major protests within Hong Kong was the extradition bill, which essentially meant that some criminals from Hong Kong would be transferred and tried in China, which has a conviction rate of 99%. So that means if you committed a certain crime and then you're taken to Chinese court, the chances of you not getting charged or not getting arrested, despite whatever charge you may have, despite the evidence, you have a 99% chance of getting arrested and 1% chance of going free. So it kind of meant that it was late for you. You get. And in addition, China doesn't like have the best records when it comes to arresting people with like just cause. It can literally be like a meme on Facebook that you posted about a certain leader, and then they come to your house and lock you up.
So yeah, it be like that, man.
The streets are tough.
Yeah, so that meant that this whole extradition bill became like a threat to the one country, two systems policy, which was only supposed to expire in 2047. So they began to protest, and these protests seem to like work, because China low key cares about like its image, you get, to the rest of the world and stuff. So, but then Miss Rona hit,
And they might get sanctioned.
yeah, and you might get sanctioned. But then the virus hit, and the lockdown situation happened, and that kind of like meant that people were no longer allowed to gather for safety reasons, and that meant that the momentum which was built up by the protests kind of shifted back a bit.
Popped a bit.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, in the background, China was also working on introducing a security bill, right, which would allow them to do what the extradition bill did, but with certain loopholes. They just found a loophole to go around what people were protesting about back then. So what the security bill now includes was subversion, succession, terrorism, and collusion could lead you. Okay, so that meant you just saying something bad about the Chinese government, essentially. Meant that you could get charged between 3 years and life in prison if you become guilty. So if you showed any mild threat to the Republic, essentially you'd get arrested. So for example, if there was a protest which turned maybe slightly violent, or someone had a separatist banner like Free Hong Kong or something like that, then that means that means if in the streets of Hong Kong, they have like facial recognition software and stuff like that. So even if you're not the one raising the banner, but you were at that protest,
you were there,
and that means also you are also liable. You're also one of the people who had these separatist ideas and all that. And that means you'd go to jail for between 3 years and life imprisonment, for raising a banner. Or like I said, if you post something on social media that they don't approve, you'd get arrested and taken to China, like, with the first bill, where the conviction rate is 99%, which means you're definitely going to jail. And there's a chance that you might serve up to a life imprisonment because of a tweet. So yeah, it was crazy. And then to quote like a statement which the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office said, they were like, quote, "For the small minority who endanger national security, this law will be a sword hanging over their heads." So you can already see the subliminal oppressive type of statements that they're bringing out to put fear into people and to kind of tell them to back down, you get. And even as we can see, the way the security bill was written, it was in such a vague manner that, they could arrest you for pretty much anything and in any way possible, you get. Even if it's something really mild, something that is supposed to be legal in Hong Kong because there's a freedom of speech, you can still be arrested and taken to China. And then apparently this law went into effect this year within the 1st of July. And it's ironically the policy also banned the July 1st protests, which is something that the nation of the municipality of Hong Kong has done for like decades, in remembrance of the people who did certain protests behind, like before them. So that was also banned. And they banned it under the guise of COVID reasons. and at least 300 people were arrested.
For what?
Huh? Oh, for meeting up, because they were breaking protocol when it comes to the lockdown and all that.
COVID.
Yeah, the COVID
rule.
So 300 people were arrested, and then we also know that the law even like governs even foreigners visiting Hong Kong. So if you post something on social media, which under the security bill is said to be separatist or threatening of the Chinese government's security policies.
The Chinese government.
And if as soon as you set your foot in Hong Kong as a foreigner, you know, they can immediately charge you and take you to China. And like you won't be taken to your home country for trial, and you won't be imprisoned in your home country, but you'll be imprisoned in China. Because in China, like we said, they have a 99% conviction rate. And then, so that's how it is. It's really crazy. But then remember also that China has like investments in almost every major company you get, like especially in the States. So that's why you see certain celebrities.
Remember we said that they also have like investments in TikTok and stuff.
In TikTok and stuff, yeah, like what we talked about in the first episode. They have their fingers in so many jars. So that's why you see like celebrities and certain sports stars like LeBron James and James Harden. They had to apologize for their hashtag FreeHongKong tweets. You see, because these guys, they have shares.
To apologize.
Yeah, they had to apologize and take back their words, essentially. Because we know that China definitely is going to have shares in the NBA, in the NFL, in Hollywood, you know, for major projections.
Money.
So it's just about money, you get. So they had to apologize and, you know, put down their tweets and delete them. So yeah, even the outsiders, even people who are not in Hong Kong are being censored because of these policies. So that means if you support the Free Hong Kong movement in public and you ever want to set foot in China or Hong Kong, then it's pretty much late for you. And then on top of that,
and imagine you're just passing through. Like you're not even there to like be there.
Yeah, maybe you're taking an indirect flight you get through Hong Kong going somewhere else. They can still trap you there. And then on top of that, the law also gave like China the right to set up police stations in Hong Kong. So that means the Chinese government set up their own police to, you know, pretty much spy on the Hong Kong public and use those resources like the street cameras and whatever to enforce these laws and kind of to oppress the freedom of speech and, you know, to just supersede all of those one country, two policies, what can I say, laws that were put in place in 1997. So yeah, pretty much Hong Kong, the people in Hong Kong are going through a rough patch at the moment.
And
it's
I always wonder how people in these struggling nations, you know, you don't just hear of Hong Kong, but you also hear of many North African nations, Middle East African nations, going through some sort of like government fix.
I mean, look at Zim, number one example.
Yeah, Zim also, man.
That one they've been censoring from the beginning.
Yeah, it's been a stable state, like where I can ask someone, hey, yo, dog, how's Zim? Nah, Zim's dog, you know, it's all chilling.
But in truth, that's not the case whatsoever. You get.
No, I mean like you won't hear that. You won't hear someone say that.
Yeah, you won't hear. Yeah, everyone. Of course, you're always going to hear like everything is not fine. Things are getting worse because in truth they are not getting any better. You see, because it's something that's rooted in preserving the people at the top and preserving their finances, their businesses. So which means everyone else, even people who are trying to start something, they have to go through the back door in order for you to have a certain level of success.
Hey, dog.
So it's not, you know, an easy situation to be living in.
Yeah, it's not at all.
It's not at all.
So like right now, these sort of like protests, are they still continuing or not in Hong Kong?
I mean, they are happening here and there, but then ones are getting crazy arrested. You get, but so you see that even as time is going, the protests are dwindling, and it's kind of being pushed under the rug. Like it's not being covered by mainstream media as much because it's kind of old news to people. But you know, these are like real people's
news
lives.
Even when it's bad news. Even when it's bad news, let's say when it sort of like becomes an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Everyone ends up like, you know, pushing it under the rug.
Pushing it
Let
under
me give
the
an
rug,
example. Yeah, you know, all these Middle East conflicts that have been happening maybe for the past, as long as I've been alive, let's say.
Yeah.
You hear of stories in Afghanistan, Palestine, yeah, all those Middle East Asian places.
Yeah, the Gaza Strip, so many,
Yeah, and these
so
are
many
terrible
different places.
stories.
Terrible.
Syria, terrible places. I mean, terrible stories. And people push them under the rug because they're like, man, we hear of this every day, dog.
Every day we're tired.
Yeah, you know.
But that's someone's reality, you get. They're actual
someone's struggling with that.
People who are scared for their lives because they don't know when the next attack will be. And there are a lot of children being left as orphans. You get. There are a lot of people suffering from lifelong injuries, getting disabilities. There are so many different issues that people are facing in those areas. But then, you know, it's only covered for a certain period of time. And then as soon as it becomes old news, in quotes, it's pushed aside. And the media starts looking for, you know, the new scoop, you know, something that will get you watching, something to get them the hits.
Something that you can watch. That's the thing with the news. I mean, with the news outlets as well. They seek for what's new. That's why it's called news.
Yeah.
If it's been there for a long time, tech.
But you realize something though. A lot of the times you see that people who have initial outrage of how can this be happening? We must do something, blah blah blah. But then just go 1 or 2 weeks later, those same people have moved on to something different, and no actual action has been taken.
A good example would be the Black Lives Matter movement. I remember beginning of June, it was all heated up, you know, Black Lives Matter, Blackout Tuesday, you know, all these good movements of sort of like ending this. That's where we know it's kind of like prominent. You know, all that, you know, even media out there doing that whole, you know, sports teams replacing their names on the backs and putting Black Lives Matter and all of that
before the item.
Yeah.
Before the beginning of
that's still done.
Yeah, it's still done even.
But like most things have just people have resumed their lives.
Yeah, like nothing actually changes. It seems to be like a cycle, something that happens, an issue comes, there's initial outrage, there is a lot of symbolism, and then after some time people get bored, back to normal, and the cycle continues.
And then we wait for the next thing.
And then we wait for the next thing to be outraged about, the next
Yeah.
thing to show, our gestures of appreciation and support on social media.
If you pick a cause to, let me not say pick, but like when something comes up that we see is affecting society, I think I'm also saying this to myself as well, because I believe I've been part of this outraged, back to normal cycle. When something comes up, follow it or like do the best you can to make sure you can be the change around that cause until it actually happens. Follow through basically with whatever form of humanitarianism, whatever form of philanthropy, whatever form of support you have for society or whatever's happening, social injustices. And just make sure it changes, until you can only say it's done, or you can only say it's changed when you see it change.
Yeah. You can only initiate change by it starts with you, essentially.
Yeah.
You're the only person who can start it for yourself. You see. Waiting for someone else to start it, or waiting for someone else to do something doesn't really help anyone. If you want to see a change, you have to act however you can. You might not be part of the leadership of a government, but there are certain things you can do, signing petitions, contributing to the cause. There are so many different things that people can do out there. But then I feel like we just, as a global community, we just have to break out of that cycle of, showing our support or appreciation, not because of, getting acclamation from other people on social media, or not for being part of the trend, but for actually wanting to see a change happen. Actually wanting to be a part, of that fight.
I think I was listening to some Russian earlier last week.
A Russian what?
A Russian, I think it was a video maybe I was watching. Some guy was also saying something like that. You guys need to stop doing things only because they're trending.
Yeah. I guess like subliminally as human beings, we enjoy having that sense of belonging and, being part of something big, you get. So when something comes out and there's outrage and a lot of people are talking about it, everybody wants to be part of it, you get. But then when it actually comes to persevering with it and having some sort of consistency, it becomes a different story.
That's true.
So yeah, change, like we should move out of that mindset and try to actually have a genuine desire for change, a genuine desire to, contribute, to leave a footprint in history.
Yeah.
Definitely. So yeah, that was just something which I felt like I had to share, and something maybe people can start talking about, something that can get you thinking, get those gears into the
And I think it's also a good reminder to remind us, that people out there going through a hell of a living, breathing. Okay.
There are people in serious situations. You see, sometimes we might think the world is crashing all around us, but the facts are there is someone, in a way worse situation. As much as you have your
like COVID is the smallest of their problems.
Yeah, COVID is the smallest cause of their problems, because they might not even live to worry about getting killed by COVID. Some people are living day to day, not knowing what tomorrow brings.
Mm-hmm. And I believe if you're that person who's like me and like you wake up every morning, you basically have no need to worry about whether you're gonna get blown off by a missile today or you're gonna get arrested. Beach. Be that person.
Or being arrested because of your race.
You see?
Or being scared for your life when the police pulls you.
Being scared of your life. Be that person who sort of like creates awareness or sort of like helps those people that are struggling in that, like, who are struggling in society.
That's definitely.
We do exist to help each other, and it's one thing to just appreciate our lives and all of that, but it's another thing to also notice that, hey, while I'm appreciating my life, I can at least try my best to help someone out there to get a better life somehow. Somehow.
So yeah.
So like, in light of that whole culture of outrage back to normal, there was another outrage during the week. I don't know if you caught it on Facebook. I caught it on Facebook. And maybe WhatsApp. There was a rape incident that hit
so
the streets
what
of
happened?
Facebook and alarmed.
What happened exactly?
So, from what I understand, can you give me a minute?
Yeah, sure.
So, from what I understand, this guy sort of like, I'm not gonna mention his name for the sake of
protecting anyone involved.
Yeah. I'm not gonna mention names, but I believe we all know the incident. I'm just gonna relate what I see from all these places. So from what I understand is this guy was at a party. No, they were. Let me just say he slept with an intoxicated girl. The girl was drunk.
Yeah.
And the girl didn't want it. She didn't say yes. You know how it goes. How actually.
So he decided to like, what do you call it? To insist on it happening.
Give me a minute. Let me. Yeah, sort of like decided to insist on it happening. So like, I'll send you the link of the story. It's quite nowadays, so it's nothing you'd struggle to find.
So it's something that's been prominent on social media.
Yeah. It's been prominent for about maybe a week now. It might be more because there was a time I was not on when I was traveling. I wasn't really online much, so maybe it's more than a week. But from what I know, straight, it's been. So, okay. So what happened was this guy slept with this girl, and she didn't know. She didn't say yes. Now this guy said he thought the girl said yes because his friend told him so. That the girl wants the guy. And what actually sparked this off was that a screenshot went around with this guy's apology message, of him confronting her and trying to apologize, and
It was a
it just
mess.
turned into a whole mess. Just turned into a whole mess. And the main three things that came into that sort of like were highlighted. Of course, it's the rape incident. The poor girl was obviously raped, and judging by this, I don't know much details about the girl. She's a minor. She's under
the age of 18.
Yeah, she's under 18.
It's 18 in Botswana.
There was a time it was 16. You know how awkward that was.
I think 16 is in the UK.
That used to be the case like 2 years back in Bots.
Really?
Yeah, it used to be 16. That was just awkward.
Bro.
And in fact, it used to be 18, and they dropped it to 16. And they took it back to 18.
Why did they drop it? That's dodgy.
I don't know. I don't know.
Why would you drop it? Like, increasing is understandable. Dropping is...
No, I think they were looking at things like like this minor age goes towards things like sex and is it marriage as well?
What? Oh, like, you can't marry a minor.
Marriage age, you know that, right? Yeah, you can't marry that. They can't. The whole idea is
because in certain places, like for example Libya, you find
the whole
that
idea
a 35-year-old man can marry a 14-year-old girl.
You see?
Like you
so
see
the whole idea is that the child is too young to make a decision.
Yeah.
Regarding sexual intercourse and
I mean, how can you make a decision to get married if you can't even make a decision to vote?
Them even like at that time I was struggling to make a decision to go to which school.
Bruh.
Yeah. So basically, long and short of it, this was a sexual assault. It was rape.
Well, wasn't it like actual rape?
Give me a minute. Pause. Let's read this together. So pause this.
Okay.
So that we actually read.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we finally got to iron out the facts. I wanted to iron out the facts before we discuss this. So I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to sort of like mention anyone because I don't know the details as well. But like, I don't want to highlight the story, but I want to highlight the things that came out because of the story. Number one, there was a story of rape apology, sort of like people defending the guy. Apparently there were guys defending this guy, and in the big stories, there are always sides.
Yeah, there are always sides.
Yeah. And number two, there was also an idea of people jumping to conclusions without the facts being known. So that's the case to a lot of social justice issues.
There's always going to be people on one side, of course, which for various reasons, be it them defending a certain wrong by trying to cancel it out with another wrong. For example, when the Black Lives Matter movement was out, there were people talking about all life matters. And of course, we know that
all lives matter.
But then we know that, of course,
that's
all
not
lives
the
matter.
gist right now.
But that's not the gist but you see that people will come up with something like that because, we have that defensive mechanism within us. When you're not a white guy, you feel like, I've never been racist. Why are these people, attacking people of my demographic? My boyfriend's, my sister's boyfriend is black or something like that. And all these things start coming out. And blue lives matter.
Yeah.
Because police...
Blue lives,
or some people I saw on Facebook where they were saying, all lives matter. They were now talking about how the certain farmers in South Africa were being killed by black people.
being killed and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, so now,
Yeah,
they're trying to move away from the point by putting another
Mhm.
issue on the table.
Another issue.
You get.
And another thing that personally came to me, like this was just a personal thought. I was like, because this wasn't the first rape case I've heard in about 2 weeks. So I can
Wait.
safely say rape is a bad thing. It's terrible.
Wait, in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yo, guys.
So I can say, at least within my circle of life, it's common. It's sad. That's how sad it is. It's not something you just hear of rarely.
Yeah, there are so many different stories, and some stories which haven't even come out.
Yeah,
probably a majority of the issues and stories have not even been outed because some people have been told by their family members to keep quiet because it will ruin the family name.
And all of that.
Or because it was a person of influence and that person sponsors them or something like that. So a lot of people have been forced to silence. And then it becomes
or they can lose their money because they lose the case.
Yeah, or even stigma. You get
either
be it having a family member who experienced something that terrible. You don't
being
want
called
to
the raped girl and all of that.
And all that. And also maybe if it's a guy who got raped, they might be kind of reluctant to go to the police because they'll feel like they're being demasculated. Is that a word?
I don't know.
Isn't it? It's emasculated. The opposite is demasculated. Maybe. I don't know. You guys check the dictionary. I don't know. Yeah, so you feel like, you're not a man. How could you, be sexually assaulted by a woman? And it kind of, hurts ego. You get. So people will be reluctant and will end up keeping it inside. And then it becomes something that they carry alone for the rest of their lives. So there are so many issues that come with rape. And I feel like some of these things, should be put out in the open. And that's the only way we can start implementing a change. Things that we should start talking about and not try to hide in the shadows.
Yeah. Speaking of talking about it, I for one, yes, I believe if you are wronged, measures should be taken that wrong is dealt with. Like,
and also so that wrong doesn't happen to another person.
Follow. Yes. So the other thought that came into my mind was, okay, fine. What do we do to this dude? Like, not just this guy, but like, if someone rapes someone in society, I'm not talking about jail here. I'm talking about actual
rehabilitation.
Like, do we what help do we offer? Because if you want to make a proper society, we have to start with where it's broken. And where it's broken,
we have to kind of start from the roots and not try to cut off the branches and think that it will never grow again. Yet you have to start from the roots of the issue.
I'm seeing this whole thing of people blaming the patriarchy and all of that. And you've heard these stories of the patriarchy, right?
What is the patriarchy?
Culture. This whole idea that men are the ones that have been oppressing society for the past eternity.
I think probably maybe it's put out of context by certain individuals, extreme individuals, but maybe from what I understand, from what I heard, of course, the name kind of like attacks the male gender, but I feel like it's not necessarily the men suppressing society. but rather certain ideas and certain beliefs that
that's a
to
whole story for another
issues
day.
of maybe women a lot of the times facing issues. And these ideas don't only affect women, even men sometimes, with the fact that a lot of women can't open up and they can't share their emotions and feelings, thus having so many men with mental health issues and situations that are never resolved, and such high rates of suicide. And also because we've been taught to have this idea that a man is someone who's steely, someone with a thick skin, someone who doesn't someone whose stomach stinks, you get.
So
even though like the I don't like the fact that it's called the ideologies are called the patriarchy.
That's what people say. So people say that from this
But they do exist.
stems of this. Yeah, they say the patriarchy also forms the rape culture. There's a rape culture among the patriarchy happening, in which apparently the reason I say apparently is because I'm still looking into this. I don't want to take up an idea without fully understanding it.
And this context.
Yeah. So apparently, like, men sort of like have created this culture where more like to rape girls, I don't know how best to put it. Like I said, I still don't understand it. The whole rape culture thing.
From what I would take about this rape culture is probably the fact that we've been there are certain seeds that have been sown, for example, that a man if you are refused by a girl,
you have to chase after her.
And you're less of a man. You get these small things. That's how they start. They start small. These subliminal things like mob psychology, where you catch call girls in the streets, to prove
that one I must agree. It must stop. But like other than that,
I feel like that's what they mean by rape culture.
It's become a bit too extreme, because now, as much as there are those things which are very true and they happen, and the things you just pointed out, just existing in society are blamed,
And we always have to have issues like that, where there's a pendulum effect, where it seems like people kind of have a difficulty finding a middle ground. So they're like, it's either one way or the other, even though life is not as simple as that.
Sometimes you sort of like, it's men being called out and being told, basically, I don't even know how best to put it.
Like men are being called out, and you're said you're the ones who are initiating rape culture. You're the ones who are
basically,
I guess in an instinctive way, like in a reactionary way, you'd kind of get, like, if you really think deeply about it, you'd get where these people are coming from, because there's anger being harbored. They've experienced such terrible things in their lives. So it's always going to be easy to try and blame and chastise a certain group of people, because that's where a lot of the pain is coming from. But then what we've learned, like, with time, is that chastising someone, like what we were talking about before when it comes to cancel culture, chastising someone and calling them a bigot and all these different things is not going to initiate any type of change. All it's just going to do is create a defense mechanism of you. That's how you find out that other guys will now be like, also women do this, also women women cheat, also women can be trash. And then at the end of the day, we haven't gone anywhere with the issue.
We're just
shifting blame from one position to the other.
Days men, one day is woman, one day is men, one day is women.
And then it becomes an us versus them.
Yeah, it becomes an us versus them. So
and that's
what I wanted
never initiates any progress. You are asking.
Yeah. What I wanted to like sort of like go around with it was like, how do you think men should stand up for? How do you think men should react?
I feel when it comes to issues like this,
how should men go around? Yeah.
When it comes to issues like this, we should nip the small things in the bud. You know.
What does that mean?
Like you can be around with your friend and your friend starts catcalling or making like comments on a lady and stuff like that. At first, isn't it in your mind? You're like, nah, no, it's harmless, it's nothing. But then that's how
nothing
grow over time because it's a small seed. Then the more that seed is exercised and is watered,
that's where you start planting it.
That's when you start planting it, and then it becomes a tree that spirals out of control, and we get cases of rape and these extreme things. These things don't just appear out of thin air. They are coming from small problems. You not speaking to a lady nicely, you not being able to accept rejection from a girl, all these small different, even you speaking about a girl in a certain way in a group chat with your boys, as harmless as that looks, it's a seed being so I feel like
it's a seedling on its own.
We should just
you might not plant a seedling in us. You might not plant the seed in yourself. I was saying you might not plant the seed in yourself, but you might plant it into someone else. Let's say a cat.
And you never really know.
Let's say let's say a cat calling someone in public, or like you're talking about the Superfly girl with your gens.
Hey.
And when that's it, you go home. Life afterwards. Someone out there from the group is like, hey, dog, I want this girl, dog, and I'm gonna get her whether she likes it or not.
And then it becomes so you see these small things that need to be nipped in the bud before they spiral out of control, as small as and harmless as they may seem. They can grow into some. Same applies to all aspects of life, really. Just small things are the ones which cause all these major issues of control. Just like the gap between the rich and the poor. As much as the rich people, are working hard who have worked hard for what they've gotten, now they have a sense of entitlement of, people doing things for them on command. And that's how you find people become power hungry. You get, because they are so successful and they've never had a no in their life. You see, and whenever they get a no, they are so used to being persistent until they get whatever they want that it spirals out of control, and then it becomes something complete that spirals out of proportion. You get. So as guys, of course, even like the way we talk, children are watching. You get. As much I've realized, as much as sometimes as adults we feel like, no, it's just a child, it doesn't know anything. These children are listening and hearing these things, and these things are being put into their system. You get, and they are learning. That's actually them learning these things which might initially seem harmless, and then you end up hearing, my child, you were such a good boy. I don't know how things ended up like this, but it was just a small seed which was sown. You get. So it's about nipping things in the bud, cultivating a culture of respect for other people, and
and then
the most important rule: love your neighbor as yourself. You get. As much as that sounds, like a passing by statement, it's like actually something very powerful. You get, because
you wouldn't feel
you wouldn't just put yourself in that person's shoes. You wouldn't feel good. If that was something happening to you, you would have slight discomfort. However slight it might be, there's still discomfort. And then, it can become more and more. And yeah, that's how I feel. How about yourself? How do you
Now,
feel that, we should go about this?
it's a complicated issue. That's what I started off as, because it really is complicated, And also, every rape case is unique. Every rape victim is unique. Every rape victim has their own way of handling it. Because aside from that, number one, the victim can attract an more than that, the victim can fall pregnant.
Oh, you're saying a victim can attract
an STD like AIDS.
Oh yeah, they can get an STD.
Gonorrhea. Yeah.
And there's the issue of pregnancy as well.
Yeah. But like, I'm at a stage where how I see it is, I think it starts off with personal responsibility on yourself as a dude, not just as a dude, but as a girl.
As anyone.
Personal responsibility as a dude, I'd put it this way. I'll talk about rights. Yeah, I'll talk about rights later, but like personal responsibility in the sense that, look, dude, you see a girl, you respect her, period. Don't even try and do funny, hey, she's not your girl. So shut up and respect her.
Yeah.
If you're interested in her, go talk to her. Talk to her like a person. Don't talk to her
not like an object. Kind of, that's another thing. Hey,
yeah.
The way this I feel like the way sexual culture has over the years, it has kind of
exactly. There's another thing also. Sexual culture has been objectivized.
Exactly.
Even I'd say the reverse also happens. It's not, you never hear it being popularized, but the reverse just happens where women do treat men as objects of pleasure, and men do treat women as objects of pleasure. Now, unfortunately, men are a bit more extremist in that regard.
Yeah. But it is a reality.
Yeah. But like I was saying, men, we have a responsibility of respecting people we see, and I'm not saying, hey, don't talk to women, hey, nasak men. No, like just be a nice guy. Be a genuine nice guy. Don't
talk to them like a person. And it's actually interesting how you brought out that issue of speaking to a girl like a human being. Because it's not even like to the extreme cases like porn, where there's over object, even like in movies that our kids are seeing. Look at the comic books. Look at Wonder Woman. How are they portrayed?
People should just stop watching porn. And anime, dog.
And anime. Not just like everywhere in TV, even like family type of content. You see that there's a lot of sexualization happening.
There's a nuance of that.
Yeah. Of just sexual influence. So I feel like that's another thing that has affected our society, and has affected not only how it doesn't only affect sexual harassment and rape, but also like relationships. You get
yeah, it does.
Where you feel like you can't be in a relation, your relationship is nothing without sexual contact or sexual intercourse, and that's pretty much what your relationship is. And then when it actually comes to the person themselves,
and even like society, we've molded this idea. Like, let's say you're just chilling with your boys and talking, they ask you about your girl, and they're like, hey, then they ask you, niggas also. Niggas like asking questions. But I believe this is the same with yeah, just there with the gents, and they're like, hey, yo, dog, when was the last time you slept with him? Like, never slept with her. They're like, Mona, suck man.
No,
Mona.
suck man. What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with,
I'm
that
not
culture
using
needs
nana,
to
mister.
Yeah, exactly. That culture needs to stop
Umulamu.
because that's how we breed that idea of having like some
Having,
guys just
you having a
just to
girlfriend, the first thing that comes to a person's head is, the sexual encounter and whatever else. So I guess
yeah,
our image of having a relationship has kind of been,
it needs to change.
it needs to change.
Yeah,
It needs
we
to
need to
change.
change how we
It's been
see.
scarred, and there's been so much dirt over it, and it's a
Yeah,
big
we need
issue.
we need to reassess how we view relationships as men, as how we view sex as men, as women, as people, because the moment we stop looking at sex as a casual thing and look at it as the deep thing that it is, it's not just casual.
Yeah, because at face value, it looks just like a bit of fun.
Yeah, at face value.
But then
It's
it's
like,
way more than that.
Yeah, it goes deeper than that. And you move on afterwards.
Because
That's how niggas do. But like, if you look at it, if you reassess it from the perspective of it, you'd realize you can't just have sex with anyone, bruh.
Yeah.
And because of that, you won't go around looking for sex with everyone.
But then again, sex is a drug. So
is.
that's why you realize that a lot of people they'll end up sleeping with every Tom, Dick, and Harry because they're trying to scratch that itch, fulfill that craving. You get?
Yeah, you see, because it produces dopamine, right? Like
Yeah.
sex, drugs, porn, all these. It's because of that dopamine influx that you get, and of course, even if it produces dopamine, it just doesn't mean you should just use it.
Yeah, because you realize that as time goes on, maybe you might not even be wanting to, like in your mind, you don't even want to have sex, but you end up like having that urge. You get, even though it's even though in your mind it's not something that you're up to, you just end up doing it anyways. You just become so emotionally numb.
Basically become a robot.
And then you become a robot, and then it's something you keep on doing again and again because you're trying to
I guess you're right.
to get that high. And also, even despite that, the sexualization people has also like it affects one's self-image. You get
What sex?
Girls, because I don't have this, I don't have that. They have low self-esteem. You get, and then you feel like you are at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to society. Like within the hierarchy, you're at the bottom, and brings out it brings you feel like you have no worth, even though you might be a wonderful person with so many gifts, with so many ideas, with so many good things about you, just because maybe you don't have the nicest of hair or whatever it may be. And you feel like
we create a false hierarchy from it.
Yeah, we create a false hierarchy. Even like with people who might be seen as sexually attractive, you find that a lot of them still have insecurities. You get, because they are trying to live up to these standards that were not naturally designed for us. Like, we were not naturally designed to have all these standards. That's why you see that there are so many of these filtering apps to make you look better, and so many of these editing softwares, and even the makeup industry. such a big thing. Like it's a really big industry.
Cashing out.
They're cashing out big time because people are trying to live up to these unrealistic and standards that they don't really have to go through all the work, and all the pain for, just because of how society has become sexualized.
Yes, become, yeah. But yeah, back to what I was saying, I was like, yeah, men should sort of like take responsibility over themselves. Even as women, they should also take thing. It's a two-way thing. Responsibility is always two ways. But we should also remember that women have rights, and men have rights. People have rights.
People have rights.
Such that
Everybody has rights.
If a lady doesn't want, she doesn't want. If a guy doesn't want, he doesn't want. And like, I think this also goes to the gents that sort of like pressure other gents. If a guy doesn't want a girl, don't pressure him to go here on that girl.
Exactly.
That's how you.
Or if he doesn't want to go somewhere in his relationship, don't pressure him.
Don't pressure him. And ladies, of course, this is overemphasized in society, but unfortunately, we still have to mention it. Like, we live in a cold world out there, so do the best you possibly can to look after yourself from these savage wolves. Avoid unnecessarily unsafe places. If you can, wherever you can, make sure you have someone to look out for you. Especially
as much as we might want to be initiating change, we still have to take those precautions and try
especially of like especially like of a male, someone of a male nature who can sort of like his niggas out here.
Yeah, or you can just move around in groups, especially if you're you're walking around at night. Maybe there's in a certain scenario you have no choice but to walk during the night. Just make sure.
I personally, I'm not an advocate for walking around
circumstance
at night
can have
for
it.
Everyone.
Circumstance can have it that maybe you have to walk at night, unfortunately. But then you just have to do your best. Just walk in a group with a lot of people, so that you are less prone. Huh?
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, a good number of people. Not just like maybe 4 or 5. I don't know. A decent number.
Yeah, just a decent number, because it's really not safe out there, man.
Dog. But like wherever you can, just don't walk at night. Like this is even to gents, dog. Man. Like rape aside as well. Hey, man.
You get mugged.
I still struggle. Hey, you get mugged, dog. Can happen. You can get robbed. You can get kidnapped.
Yeah,
sold to some random pirate.
Kidnapped. You remember my story?
Yeah, you scared.
But so it's just be safe out there, guys.
Just be safe.
So that you watch
and
you
see,
we need you guys.
Let's keep working on making a better society. It takes both.
Yeah, it needs everyone to be involved. Whoever you may be, have a sense of responsibility, have a caring sense, and care about other people, and just do the best you can to leave a positive impact on society and on the people younger than you. Or the people, in less fortunate places than yourself. Just anywhere,
And don't be afraid to.
You're saying?
Yeah, I know it's not easy. Like I'm saying, like,
don't be afraid to.
You find. Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, call the police.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, like let's say you you fall under unfortunate circumstance of being raped, and just tell the police as soon as possible. Like I said, as soon as ready, because that's legally that's the only way it can be solved. It's a first step
like just
into some.
As hard as it might be, as scary as it might be, that what will happen if I go and report this? How will it affect? Also, just have in mind that other people might fall into the same situation if something like that is left alone. So it's always important to report these cases, speak to someone you trust, to someone you know. And in that way, you're not only doing a favor to yourself, but you're doing a favor to potentially other people who could have potentially become a victim of, in that situation.
Same with it. So yeah, that's it. I guess that's it for today.
I think we've touched on a lot of different issues and things.
And
it was highly productive. I liked it.
Highly productive.
Even the tangents were productive. We were not just waffling.
Yeah, today we're not just waffling. We're getting better at it, I guess.
Yeah, I like that.
So who's doing the outro this time? Me or you?
Do the outro. Okay. I've been stealing the spotlight for the past 2 episodes.
Exactly.
Let me be quiet. Let me be humble.
So we've reached the end of our
English.
Okay, folks, we've reached the end of our episode. We've reached the end of our podcast, and be sure to comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already done that. Be sure to ask any questions, engage in any discussions, and don't forget to share this as well with your friends and family if you found this insightful. And this is me, the Soul Engineer, and Masimba signing out. Peace.